Matt Miller. Regret the podcast. Hi, I'm Matt Miller, and welcome to episode 5 of Regret the podcast. As you can see, I'm in a new space. If you're just listening, I'm in a new space. I know it looks like I'm living in richness, and that's because I am. I hit it big. I was walking down the street, and a man said, "Hey, I'm going to give you $1 million." And I said, "Whatever, guy." And he gave it to me, and now look at this. Do you hear that? I got motorcycles outside. Those are my motorcycles. I don't even know if you can hear that. They're getting delivered to me. They're my motorcycles. As you can see, I'm not drinking Budweiser. I am not. I have a empty Yoo-Hoo juice box, a Yoo-Hoo juice box. I find Yoo-Hoo to be delicious, and I have a Yoo-Hoo juice box with me. Shake it is what they say. You have to shake it before you drink it because all that flavor just kind of settles on the bottom. So if you want that real flavor, shake that shit up. But yeah, right now, I am living well. Regret the podcast. Let's talk about regrets. What do I got on this sheet of paper? So I just moved. Literally, well, now it's been like 20 days. So I didn't just move. But I don't have a job right now. I still don't have a job. I haven't had a job in a while. So I'm going to start trying to do temp shit tomorrow, like 9 a.m. What time is it right now? It's 1 a.m. So I'm not going to get 8 hours of sleep because I'm recording this. I'm supposed to call the agency tomorrow, and they're going to tell me if they have anything for me in the morning. So that should be fun. I had to, before filming this, I had to do a questionnaire, well, kind of see if I knew how to use Microsoft Office. And it turns out I'm not as good at Office as I thought. I was doing the Excel one, and I got 10 questions in, and I fucked up copy and pasting. I thought I had done it, and then I realized I hit the wrong thing. I didn't hit the copy. And then I was trying to go back, and I accidentally exited the test, and I was 10 questions in. And then when you exit the test, it just cancels the whole test. So then it was a 30-question test, so then I just got the next 20 wrong. And I'm like, no, I wanted to get copy and pasting right. I don't know. I was not drinking while taking the test. I wasn't drinking while I was taking the test earlier. I was not. So yeah. Temp shit. I applied for a customer service, commission-based job that sells cable to people. And I didn't want to do that shit. That shit sucks, a customer service commission-based job. But I still went in to see what it was all about because it seemed like fun. And they just sort of push anyone along. I could have been anyone and they would have hired me. It was all fucking bullshit. It was like they were scamming me. I went in and they were like, "Oh, what makes you think you should do this?" And I was like, "I don't know, I'm a motivated person." They're like, "Cool, all right. Go to stage 2 of the customer service." Then I showed up the next day, and this guy tries to sell me on pyramid schemes, clearly just teaching me about pyramid schemes. And then I get to the last and final boss of the job, and he's just like, "Well, we initially didn't think you were going to be good at it because I fucked up a question, but your personality's good, and whoever said they liked you, I normally don't do this, but you're hired." So I was hired for my commission-based customer service job based off nothing. And then I come in tomorrow for training, and I just didn't even show up. Fucking. I sort of wish I fucked with them more because it was just bullshit. There was an older Asian lady there that barely spoke English and had a crop top shirt showing off her belly button, and she got as far as I did in the interviewing process. So I'm like, oh, they're just hiring anyone. And they're like, you get paid 21 days after your first sale. So fuck that. If anyone works those jobs, good on you. but it's fucking dumb. So like the temp agency I'm gonna do tomorrow is just gonna be like fucking office shit, which is why I take this MS Office. Do I regret any of this? I sort of regret not doing it sooner. So I'm living in Brooklyn, New York right now, and I've been here since for 20 days now. And my first week, I didn't really apply to any jobs. I wish I kind of got started earlier. I mean, I have enough money to survive a little bit, but I've been fucking around. I've been fucking around for a while. I sort of regret my last, like, many a months. I haven't, what is February, March, April, May? I haven't worked since May 2017, and right now it's February 2018. I haven't had like an official job. I'm going to do my taxes. I have not been paid to do filming or helping people move or stand-up comedy. I have not been paid to do any of this. So I've been fine. But fucking when you don't have a job, it's like hard to do shit. I was like, I have all the time in the world. I'm going to shoot tons of videos. I'm going to fucking do lots of stand-up. I'm going to write shit. I didn't get shit done. I did more shit when I had a job than when I didn't have a job. I don't know. It's fucking weird like that. I tend to be lazy. Even though I do a lot of things, like my body just wants to not do shit. I guess that's everyone, but I'm wearing a shirt with my face on it. If you're just listening, it's just a fact about me right now. But yeah, when I regret not using my time more wisely in all this time I've had off. So I've had end of May, so June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. So 9 months I had enough time to make a baby, and all I've done is sort of bullshit. I mean, I guess I've moved. I started doing this podcast. I did put out some videos, did a bunch of stand-up. I went on a stand-up tour, but some days I just wake up at 3 in the afternoon. After I would go to bed at 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning, just fucking doing whatever. I was not smoking a lot of weed, but fucking weed wasted so much of my time. So much of my time getting high. That was one of my regret stories. There was one night, someone I know, an acquaintance of mine, wanted to go out, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to bring 2 women." And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm up for new experiences. And I was hanging out with this guy I know, and these 2 chicks he brought with him. He didn't buy them. It wasn't a slave trade. I would not be involved with that. I am against that, actually. I am against slave trading. I am against sex slavery. I am not for it. If you're for sex slavery and you want to listen to this whole podcast and maybe you want to send me money, do it. I don't support what you're for, but if you want to support me, who am I to say who sends me money? But anyhow, so yeah, I was hanging out. This is going to be about weed eventually, even though I never smoke. I was hanging out with him and these 2 anonymous chicks. We went to my place. We drank a brew or 2, and then we smoked weed. And I was driving, and I should not have been driving high, but I did drive high that night. And I was like, oh, I can drive high. It's not hard. I've seen people do it. Let me try. And it turns out driving high isn't. I didn't get into an accident or anything. Everything was fine, but driving high, you should not drive high. I was pulled over within 2 miles of driving because I blew a stop sign. And the police officer told me that he couldn't prove that I was high because I did not smoke. He couldn't prove that I was high because he's like, oh, it smells like weed in here. I'm like, yeah, I smoked 15 hours ago. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give you a warning. Because no one in the car could drive. The dude I was with didn't have a license. The 2 chicks, they didn't have licenses. I'm like, who the fuck are these chicks? So they're like, if you get pulled over again, you're going to go to jail. And I said, okay. And I had to call up my buddy. This was like fucking 2 a.m. to pick up my acquaintance and the 2 chicks he brought and bring them back home because I was too high to fucking drive. And I just kind of sat in my car until I sobered up. And I sort of regret doing that. That was a waste of a fucking night and time. It was all bullshit. I was in a rental at the time because my car was getting repairs. And I made the whole rental reek of fucking weed, but I returned it and it was fine. But yeah, high driving is not, you should not do that. As much as like I see like people saying it's easy, it's like better than sober driving. It's not. You should only drive sober, dude. High driving is fucking hard. There's jokes about like driving slow high. And it's just like, okay, but you're still driving wrong. I don't know. Do whatever the fuck you want. Just don't hurt anyone. This audio sounds great. I'm listening to it in the headphones. It sounds great. I got this Yoo-hoo over here. But yeah, that fucking high driving was bullshit. Do I have a pen? I don't have a pen. What time is it right now? 1:12. Got to wake up at 9 to see if I got a job. So yeah, I remember when I was getting my first car. Okay, here's a regret. When I was getting my first car, my parents made me buy their car off them. My mom had a Ford Explorer, and she made me buy it from her. And I also remember when I looked up like the Kelley Blue Book value of the Ford Explorer, it was like $3,500, the one she had, and she sold it to me for $4,000. So she started off ripping me off for $500. And then after driving the car for a week, it needed like another like $1,400 in repairs. So my parents fucked me over. They really taught me you can't trust anyone. You can't even trust your fucking parents. They fucked me over on my first car. They made me pay $4,000 for it, and then it needed another like $1,400 in repairs. And I remember I had like over like $6,000 in the bank because I've been working a job, and it just screwed all my fucking money. And I regret listening to my fucking parents. They're like convinced me to get that car, even when people were telling me, they're like, no, why don't you just get a different car? Why don't you just find like a car from like somewhere else, Craigslist or whatever, or a used car. You don't have to buy your parents' car. But I trusted my parents, and they sold me a fucking shit car. So fuck that. Never trust them. I'm talking through a pop screen right now. I set up a pop. If you're watching me, you can see the pop screen, but I'm talking through a pop screen. So one sec. So the first time when I bought the car, I didn't just get the car. It took a few weeks until my parents gave it to me. And there was one day where I was like sitting in my house. I was 17? And my parents kind of like stopped drinking, but they had all these beers in the basement, all these Miller Lights. And I drank like 4 of them. I was just sitting there. I was looking at my dog, Max, at the time. And I was like, I'm just going to drink these beers, these nice warm Miller Lights. I drank like 4 of them, and I was 17. And I hadn't really been drinking before that. Been drinking before that. Because I was a loser. But anyhow, I was drinking them. What was this? Maybe late 16s. Maybe not 17 yet. But anyhow, so I was like a little buzzed drunk because I never really drank before. And my parents came home. They're like, this is the day you get your car. I want to take it for a test drive. And I was like, fuck. Is like the first day I'm going to drive my first car, I'm going to be drunk? And the answer to that question is yes. Because they didn't know I had been drinking at the time. So I drove my first car a little drunk. I remember I drove it like up and around the neighborhood and came back, and I'm like, that's all the driving I need now. And they're like, you sure? And I'm like, that's it. I'm good. I'm just going to hang out and drive more later. Because I was a little buzzed from drinking. I don't know if I've already told that story. But yeah, I remember when I graduated college, my parents bought me a little keg, and then like I invited friends over and we drank out of it. But like it was a mini keg, which is, I don't know how many beers. I think a mini keg's still like 120 beers, I forget. Maybe 90. And I only had over like a few, like 7 or 8 people, I don't remember, maybe 10 for the graduation. So it was barely drank. And then the next day we had to like return the keg. And there was so much left that I was just like drinking it the next day. I was just down in it. And then my parents were just like, you want to drive that keg back? And I was like, okay. And they saw me drinking it. They just didn't care, I guess. And I drove the keg back. But that was fine. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. All right, I'll tell you some more stories. We're just bouncing all over the place. This is Brooklyn, New York. I'm subletting this place for 4 months. None of this is my shit. A lot of this is my shit, like my clothing and stuff around, but this isn't where I live. I sleep on this small twin bed. There's a mattress that is small. I think I explained this before, and my spine's been hurting, and things have been bullshit. But, it's been fun here. It's been fun. There's a lot of people I know down here. Trying to do a lot of stand-up down here. I want to do stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy, so I moved down here. And it's been pretty good. The pizza's been good, which is a fine fact. I've been drinking a lot, which isn't that great. Taking the subways, just living that subway life where you just ride around in subways and go to different places. It's like you're only in places momentarily, and then you are in a subway, and then you're momentarily in other places. And that's just how you live your life here. Riding around in the subways. Momentarily. Last night, I did not get high. I did not get very high. And I came home, and I watched that movie Eyes Wide Shut, which I remember as a kid, my parents rented it. And like me and my brother recorded it so we could jerk off to it because there's a lot of naked ladies in there. A lot of pretty naked ladies in that movie. And I had never really watched that movie as an adult. I've only watched it to jerk off as a kid. So when I'm not high, I like to jerk off. And so I was high. I was not high. And I was like, I'm going to jerk off to movies like an old time's sake, just jerk off to films rather than watching porn. So I turned on that movie. I saw it was on Netflix and I was watching it and I actually just got real intrigued with the story, The story just became super intriguing. And I watched the whole thing and I'm like, this movie makes sense now that I'm an adult. I understand the concepts being talked about and shit. It's a very adult movie. Talking about some dude shit. It's a lot about like jealousy and like settling and not being able to be with the person you want to be with. And how life's just fucked up. So the movie's about. It's really deep, fucking true, honest shit about life. Like this, like the Tom Cruise character, there was a lady that like was marrying some like math teacher that she didn't really love, and she really loved Tom Cruise because he was like a handsome doctor. But she was just settling with the math guy. But like when her father dies, Tom Cruise came over to sort of like comfort her, and she told her she loved him, and he's like, no. And she's like, I don't want to marry this fucking math teacher. That's some real shit. Some scary shit. Just makes you wonder if the person you're with is settling on you because they love someone more. Yeah, I don't know. There's some fucked up. That's some real shit. There's some people I've been with in the past. Well, one person in particular, I wouldn't say I love them, but my mind became addicted to them because they're real good at fucking, and I was attracted to them. And then they come up in my mind every now and then. But they wouldn't be someone I'd want to be with forever. I don't know, you ever with someone that like really like excites you, but like is wrong, and then it ends, and then you still think about it? I know it sounds like I wouldn't, even while the relationship was happening, I'm like, I don't want this forever. I just want to ride this ride for a bit. This person I'm talking about, I'm talking very vaguely. But that person, there's like a whole bunch of regrets involved with that relationship and the way I acted and shit. It was not meant to be, but it was fun. I have like a very like addictive personality, and I like to like feel high. And there was one person that I dated for a bit that really was a lot of fun to date, but they were wrong for me. And I sort of like wanted to extend the fun, but they were just like a drug. They weren't like a person. They were a person who had emotions and feelings, but they sort of like gave me a drug-like response. And sort of when that ended, this particular relationship I'm talking about, it was just like very like training. It was like I was like withdrawing for a while. Like I still think about it and how I could have acted differently. But I swear it wasn't like a love thing. This person I was talking about, she wasn't like a love thing. She was just fun. She was like a roller coaster ride. And I know not to confuse the two things. Like someone that you care about and cares about you versus someone that's a fucking nutcase that's fun. It's funny that like people that are crazy are just fun sexually. I guess if you're going to be a crazy person, you got to be positive somewhere else, you know? If you're going to be a fucking nutcase, you got to make it up for other traits if you're going to attract other people. But yeah, I wish that relationship didn't end as quickly as it did. It could have gone longer if I didn't go fucking blow up on this person because they kept fucking with me. I know this is very vague, but it's hard for me to talk about it in specific. But yeah, if you're a fellow out there and you're dating a crazy chick that like emotionally fucks you up, I don't know, do it. Fucking, I don't give a fuck what you do. I don't give a fuck what you do, but it's gonna fuck you up, especially if you've never like experienced that before. There's a lot of cool women, but there's some women that are nuts. And why am I talking about eyes wide shut, remembering this chick? Yeah, there was just a woman I dated in the past. I dated for a little bit, who was just crazy. And like there was no ever like clarity about what was going on at all times. And she was just in and out. It was just, but she was so much fun sexually that I stuck around until, yeah, I just went nuts one day because it was just like too much to take. And I regretted going nuts that day because I wanted the sex to continue with her because she was so fun. But also she, like, my mind, like, I've been trying to control the situation for a while in my mind of what happened, trying to figure out why I acted that way and why I couldn't have been cooler. But there was just, one day I flipped out and then everything was just downhill from there. It was just like months of things ending, many months of things just ending, and it was just miserable because like I still wanted things to continue longer. I don't know, this happened a while ago. And then I remember within like a year and a half of us breaking up, I went on like my most spree of ladies, which was, it was in like a year and a half. This is the most for me. It was like 11 different chicks I had slept with or like were in short-term relationships with, just to like get her out of my mind. And it doesn't really work that way. I don't know. I find that like I was trying to fulfill myself sexually after that relationship, and I just really couldn't do it. I still think about that shit, but Eyes Wide Shut, pretty good movie. Pretty good movie. All right, I'm going to take a short break. I see the time right now. Hopefully that last tirade made sense. I was speaking very vaguely kind of about it. Hopefully you can piece that together so it makes sense. But that is something that in my mind is still a big regret, blowing up on this chick that I really liked having sex with. And I should be a stronger person than that, but look at me. I'm living in fucking fucking squalor. You can't, if you're listening, you can't see, but all right. Quick break and I'll be back. Hey, this is me again, and this is a quick little interlude before I go to the break. Just wanted to add to that last little story about that girl, that woman I was dating, and I just said I liked the sex. There was an emotional aspect as well. I realized in that I listened back and I meant everything I said, but there was also an emotional side to it. I don't know why I have to restate it here and include this. I was just listening to it. It sounded pretty heartless, but there was heart in there. It's just that was a regret of mine from the past, and I try to think of that relationship as just being one thing, but yeah. Also, I mentioned one of my first YouTube clips in the second half coming up, and I was supposed to look up what the name of the video was, but now that I'm recording this, I realize I didn't look up what the name of the video was. It's like paper cutouts, and you're just going to have to find it yourself, you know? Because I could look it up and re-record this, but that seems fucking ridiculous. Actually, wait a sec, one sec. Okay, I'm back. The video was called Generation. And now for the commercial break. Regret the Podcast is brought to you by Butts. I love butts. All right, we're back. I'm going to tell you more regrets from my mind. Do you hear all that mic noise? That's the sign of a professional person recording a podcast. A professional person. See this pop filter I got on me? I can say professional person, and it only pops a little bit. What else did I write down? Oh, this is a regret. Oh man, I got a burp. I was always like a good kid. Good kid in school, whatever. I was very quiet and shy. I was good at burp. And one time, excuse me, I'm burping so much. I feel like I'm burped more than ever. This is the burpiest podcast. If this ever wins an award, it's going to win the award Burpiest Podcast. But anyhow, one time I was in middle school, and was it 6th grade or 7th grade? I don't even know. And we had our yearbooks, and we were signing them. And I was trying to be cool. In this one girl's yearbook, I drew like a hog, like a dick in the back of it. And then she like reported me. And they're like, not little Matty Miller over there. He would never do that. He's just a sweet boy. But it turns out it was me. And I had to go to detention and miss the talent show. I don't think my parents ever found out. But if they listen to this, now you know. Now you know. I regret doing that. I don't even know why I did that. There was another time where like we had to go like outside. And it was like 6th grade. And like I just didn't want to wear my jacket even though it was cold out. And they sent me to detention for like forgetting my jacket. And like in hindsight, I should have just worn my fucking jacket. But that's whatever. Those are the 2 times. Because I wasn't like a bad kid. I was just a fucking weird kid. I was a weird kid. I don't know. Senior year in high school, I started writing. Because I'm like, oh, I'm funny. I should start writing things. And I wrote this story called What Matt Did Outside, and it was like about me working at a grocery store because I worked at a grocery store and like going after chicks and shit. And I wrote this one scene where like I fuck a dog or something. And I remember I was like handing it out to people. I'm like, is this good? And this one chick read it and was like, can I be the dog? And I was like, shit, I could have got laid in high school. Because like in the story I read that I was fucking a dog, and she was like, can I be the dog? And I'm like, oh, I should have just broke out of my shell earlier. But that's whatever. Definitely broke out of my shell now. I remember in middle school, I was in a talent show. And I was going to do improv for the talent show. And like, a teacher left a bunch of like recommendations for things to do on stage, and me and a friend, an acquaintance of mine, Evan, performed them out on stage, but we didn't know, and it was like Sesame Street, and I forget what else was going on. And I remember I did some joke about how like reading class is boring, and we got a big laugh from the students. And then like when they assigned like who made the talent show, even though I was the only one to get like a real laugh, they didn't give it to me. I didn't get the talent show. Because it was something that was like actually funny and real, but the teachers were like, "Oh, you can't fucking make fun of school." Even though I was the only one at the fucking talent show auditions, so this was during the auditions, to get an actual laugh. I didn't get it, which is fucking bullshit. Because everyone else was just like fucking like singing pop songs shittily, or in a shitty band, or shittily doing dances. Just all shit. And I was the only one to get like an honest reaction. And they're like, no, you can't be honest. You have to lie. It has to be bullshit. And then it took me like 11 years to get on stage again and do stand-up. And now that's still my mantra when I'm on stage. Is just I want to say real, honest shit. Or I like to be goofy too, but I like to go for that gut laugh. I don't want that agreed laugh, like, oh, he's saying things I agree with. I want to do the like, ooh, that's fucking silly. Or like, oh, that's true. Or just like, ooh, just like whatever. Just like a, oh, you're making us laugh. No, I don't want that. I don't want you're making us laugh. I want just a real honest, like, whew, that's funny laugh, I want a real laugh saying honest shit. I don't want a fake laugh doing fake shit. Fake shit is bullshit. What the fuck am I talking about? I'm going off on a tangent here. Look at all this shit I wrote. The other night I was pretty drunk and I came home and I bought a DiGiorno pizza from like a Rite Aid because it was the only thing that was open. And I didn't want to use the oven because you have to preheat it, and I just wanted to eat it, so I just threw it in the microwave. And I didn't realize that DiGiorno pizza is just like raw dough. That's why you gotta use the oven to cook it. So like I put it in the microwave for like 6 minutes, pulled it out at like 5.5, and was eating it. And I'm like, oh, this is just kind of like raw dough. But I ate it, and then like it didn't fully cook, so I threw it in for another like 4 minutes. And then I eventually ate the whole thing. I didn't finish it that night, even though I could have. I just stopped and finished it the next day, but still microwaved it even though I was sober. So yeah, that's the proper timing if you want to eat a DiGiorno pizza in the microwave. Even though it says to use an oven, you put it in for 6 minutes. You eat sort of the corners, and then you put it in for 4 minutes to finish it off. And that's how you'd cook a DiGiorno in the microwave, even though it's like raw dough. Still good. Still good. Still good to drink it up. And by drink it up, I mean eat it up. How do I look with this pop filter? Pretty good? If you're listening, you don't see me. The first time I had a one-night stand, do I regret doing it? I don't know. I don't regret it, but it was like Halloween. What was I dressed as? Like a doctor, or like probably be a crazy doctor, a mad doctor, right? And I was hitting on this girl dressed as the Sphinx. She was a Sphinx, or like she was an Egypt shit. I was hitting on her. And then she turned me down at the end of the night. And then I was talking to this dude, and he's like, what happened to you and the old Sphinx over there? And I was like, I don't know. She's not having any of this. So then like I was pretty fucked up. And then like I went to a bar. It was a Halloween thing. And then I went over and started talking to this other chick who I was not attracted to, but she was kind of desperate. And then we ended up going back to my house, and like we took a cab, and in the cab, like I told the driver that I was like doing stand up, and he was intrigued. God, I keep burping. And like we started talking about it for a while. He was pitching bits to me, and like whenever someone pitches bits, they're always awful. And like, I forget what his bit was. His bit was about like having like a gay passenger and how he's just like, oh, you're gay. And I forget. It was not good. And we were smoking like cigarettes in the cab and shit. And like I kept talking to him until she was annoying. She's like, "Can we just go inside?" And I was like, "All right." And then we eventually had sex, and like I wore a condom, obviously, and practiced safe sex. And then I was fucking her. She's like, "You can't come inside of me." And I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "Come in my mouth." And I was like, "All right, let's do that." So I just come in her mouth, and then she slept over and then left the next morning. And I never got her name. I didn't know her name. My first one night stand, I do not know her name. I don't care to know her name. I don't really want to know her. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to be here tomorrow night." And I said, "Okay." And never saw her again. So there you go. My first one night stand. And then since then, there's been more. Talking a lot about fucking. Talk a lot about fucking on this. What else do I have on here? Regret the last months for not doing anything. I already talked about how I regret. I was looking through in high school, like sort of things that I've wrote, and I found this one thing I wrote called Saditude. And it was an article. I mean, it wasn't an article. It was like a story about like high school kids whose attitudes were sad. And it was like this whole like fucking sad shit I wrote. I have a whole bunch of like poetry and shit somewhere that I wrote for like girls in high school. I remember one time I read one of them on stage because I thought it was funny. But like if you look at the poetry, like I crossed out like the chick's name and stuff. I used to write like poems for chicks in high school. It was like this one chick that I realized liked me. She sat next to me, and I never did anything, but I wrote poems. Like one of my like first videos on YouTube, if you look, oh, now I can't remember what it's called. I mean, I don't really want to edit any of this or spend forever, but one of my first videos is probably like 6 or 7 minutes long. I forget what it's called, but it's paper cutouts, and it's sort of about that chick from high school. So if you look that up, that'll be fun. I regret never making a move on her, but you know, whatever, fuck it. We've talked about this. I've learned. I've done way better now in my adult life. Now that I've been trying a lot more, you know, just getting out there, getting hot, being hot. Before, I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm just going to say before. Yeah, in the last few years, I've been doing my best with the ladies. Been pursuing stand-up, been meeting lots of women. I've been doing great. So, what are you all worried about? Stop worrying about shit out there, you know? Do things you want to do in life, you know? Fuck if anyone doesn't like it. You know, I do weird shit. A lot of people don't like the shit I do, but I just do it. You know why? Because what else are you going to fucking do? I don't know. I never understood trying to fit in. I'm wearing a shirt right now with my face on it. One of my friends made this for me and then gave it to me, which is kind of weird, but I'm wearing it. I don't give a fuck wearing a shirt with my face on it. Living that shirt with your face on it life. No one can live that life like I can. I live that life hard. Oh, here's a story. Okay, I see. This is like my last point on here. I mean, there's so many things I regret that I hadn't even gotten to. But I remember one night I went out to this bar, and I was just hanging out. I was just drunk. And then this chick came in, started hitting on me. And I was talking to her for a while, and she was like a little drunk herself. And I told her I do stand-up because that's been my go-to line for now. Telling women I do stand-up comedy. I'm a comedian. Seems to work. But anyhow, she's like, "Oh, tell me a joke," and which is always the next question. I was like, no, you tell me a joke. And she started telling me this joke that was just awful. I'm like, this joke is awful. She's like, all right. I remember I bought her friend a drink because whatever, I was drunk at the time. She didn't want to drink. And then we started making out and shit. And she was like ready to go. She was ready to leave and like, fuck. We were just like making out and she was whatever. And then like I sabotaged myself. I was like, I'm going to go pee real quick. And I left. And then some other dude just swooped in, made out with her, and then left with her. This was a while ago. And then I realized, oh, she was just coming in to fuck like the first guy she saw that was like confident. And anyone could just sweep in and take her. That was a funny day when I realized this. Yeah, it happens all the time. Chicks just go to bars just looking to fuck whoever they run into. Yeah, that day I was like, okay, wait, I was making out with her. And then I was like, I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll be back. She was like, okay. And then right when I left, some other dude swept in, started making out with her, and then left with her. And then I'm like, oh, she was just looking to fuck anyone. So I regret not just staying there and doing it. But I mean, it's whatever. I was a learning lesson to learn that fact. Why did I write that? I forget. That happened a while ago. But yeah, just seeing like that, because it's like a common thing to think like guys going out to fuck, but chicks go out to fuck too. I mean, obviously, why would guys be going out to fuck if chicks weren't going out to fuck? We're all just going out to fuck. Can we not say it? We can say it. I'm pro consent. Just be consentful, you know? Just be consentful when you're going out to fuck. Keep your consent alive. Everybody loves a good consent. Oh, consento. Consentiano. One time I went to a bar and I was like blackout. And I met this chick and I came to when we were outside the bar and she was like trying to convince her friend to like bring me home. And I was just super like drunk and shit. She's like, you can't drive home, he's too drunk. And then like I sort of came to. And I'm like, who are you people in front of me? I'm going to go eat some pizza. And I just left him and ate pizza. One time it was a chick that gave me her number. Even though I had never asked for it. We were just hanging out or whatever. She gave me her number. I never asked for it. And the next day I messaged her. And then it was a wrong number. It was a fake number. And I'm like, I never even asked you for a number. And you just gave me a fake number? Like how is that fun? Just like, I never even asked for a number. And she just gave me a fake number for fun. What the fuck is that shit? I don't know. Going out trying to pick up chicks. I'm like a great dancer. Taught myself how to dance. I don't know if I'm a great dancer, but I dance in a very passionate way. The ladies love the way I dance. Don't believe me? You cannot believe me. I don't know. I dance and dance and dance and it dance. I dance away the night and dance. All right, I'm losing control of this. I don't think I'm going to do an intro to this one. Because this one I was actually pretty sober for. And I'm not going to do an outro. This is just going to be a complete regret the podcast without an intro and outro. And yeah, maybe I'll do an intro and outro. I don't know. That's going to be up to me later. But if you like this, make sure to follow me on all my things. It's all Matt Miller Real on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, 7the777 on YouTube. And yeah, give me a 5-star review on iTunes, like me on Facebook, do all that nice shit. All that nice shit. And thank you for listening to another episode of Regret the Podcast. Thank you again. Regret the Podcast.